Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast post-draft edition. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
And Matt Jackson.
What's going on, guys?
Oh, just recovering from a busy draft weekend. For us over here at the Couch Scouts, we have been grinding away on our rookie guide since December. And we had the pre-draft edition out with, a week or two to spare to kind of catch our breath before the NFL draft. But then, of course, this weekend, it's like, wow, so much new information all at once to digest and react to in real time. So we had multiple extra podcasts that we put out. We recorded one Thursday night around midnight, Friday night around midnight. We did another one on Saturday night. Hopefully you guys appreciated all that. If you haven't gone back and listened to those, please do that. I think it'll be really helpful for you processing all of that new information and how we should think about these rookies in Dynasty. We're getting tons and tons of on the clock notifications in our Discord, people saying, hey, I'm at this pick. I've got these guys available. Who should I take? And hey, if you want to know who we would take, go to couchscouts.com/rookie-guide and you can find our full rankings. Top 5 is free. Even if you're not a member, you can see our top 5 rankings, and we've got 3 free profiles on there. Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, and Fernando Mendoza are all free samples for our guests on the site. But if you're a Couch Scouts member, you can see exactly who we would take at any given time in a Superflex tight end premium setting. And if those aren't your settings, then just, knock quarterbacks and tight ends down a little bit. And, if you have a question, you can ask us. But all those resources are available. But we do want to get on here tonight, and we are talking post-draft risers and fallers. So each of us is going to identify one player that either rose significantly in our rankings, and then we'll do one that fell significantly in our rankings. So let's get into it. We're going to get started. Spoiler alert, I took all the good ones, so these guys just got whoever I didn't claim. But I'll throw it to Jackson first. Who's your biggest stock up from the NFL draft?
So as gross as it sounds, right? And this was a guy that I didn't like a whole lot coming into the pre-draft, going through the pre-draft process. It was Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama, who is now your first-round pick for the Rams. Bunch of stuff we saw come out of that. Where did Sean McVay know they were going to draft him? Did he not know? Was there a conversation had? Was there not had? We don't really know, right? All we do know is that Ty Simpson was a top half of the first round pick, and especially in Superflex leagues, that carries value. You're going to see him go off the board pretty consistently in that first to early second range. I mean, and if you're talking about a stock up guy for us, you're looking at him, Ty Simpson, and he went from 20 in our rankings all the way up to 11. So the back end of the first round in ADP. Again, guys like that, first round quarterbacks are going to carry value. We had that discussion in our Discord chat night one when all this happened, and had the conversation of if there's anybody that can see their stock rise or at least hold, if not rise, it's Ty Simpson. So for me, he was one of my biggest risers, especially from day one.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off that. I just finished my first rookie draft, and Ty Simpson went number 11, right where we have him ranked. So I think that's definitely in the range where we're going to see him go. And like I said, on our post-draft reaction, I think this is best case scenario for him because he's only started 1 year. He needs time to sit. So being able to sit behind Stafford for a while, I think is going to be good for his career and can actually help him potentially become a quality starter.
Yeah. A couple of notes I want to make on that. One, you saw him go to 11 in your draft, which I think it just depends on the league, right? I've seen him go as high as like 5 or 6 in some drafts that our Discord members are posting, not drafts that I've personally been in. But so just because we say somebody's a stock up or a riser for us, I do want to add the caveat that doesn't mean that we're advocating for buy them at their current price tag. So I don't know what Ty Simpson's ADP is going to end up being. I don't know how many shares that I'm going to personally get of him. Like you said, Rupert, if he goes at 11 in my league and I happen to be on the clock at 11, I would do that because that's where I have him. But if he goes at 6, I'm out, right? So I think largely he is rising um, by default of other people dropping. So if you've been following
Correct.
Couch Scouts, and it's not a knock, I'm not trying to like throw shade. If you've been following Couch Scouts for years, and I know some of you guys have been, you know that we're not ones typically to like throw our whole pre-draft analysis out the window, just blindly follow draft capital. Like we don't study these guys for months and months and months just to take somebody that we don't think is good and be like, well, he went first round, so you got to draft him. Like that's not how we operate. But and this is a big but in this draft class where, maybe I had Ty Simpson at 16 pre-draft and now I have him at 11 and the 5 guys above him or 4 of the 5 guys above him fell all the way to day 3. Like some of the guys that I think I had above him was like a Justin Jolie who went in the 5th round, Elijah Surratt, who falls to 4th round and goes to a pretty rough landing spot. We might talk about him later. Um, there's a lot of wiggle room, but Ty Simpson essentially is rising. And the reason that I'm willing to say, hey, I don't like the player, but I will take a shot on him in the late first round of rookie drafts is because it's like, who else are you going to take a shot on? It's so gross at the late first round of the rookie drafts. And I don't want to like beat a dead horse. I know we've said this draft class is bad many times, and I'm going to try to not make a drinking game out of that on this show because I'm not trying to kill people. But I will say that Ty Simpson for me being in the late first says more about what the late first looks like than it does about Ty Simpson. And that's going to segue right into my guy. My stock up is Carson Beck. So another quarterback that we don't really love the tape, but he does have big arm talent. He is very experienced coming into the league. I think if he could clean up some of his boneheaded turnovers, there's something there to work with Carson Beck. 3rd round is like okay draft capital, not great, but he goes to a situation with Arizona where he could start this season. I mean, we don't know what's going on with Jacoby Brissett. He's holding out over a contract dispute. Jacoby Brissett, as much as I love the guy, being an NC State fan, is not like a world beater at quarterback anyway. So that's an open competition. And whereas last year I overly devalued a guy in Tyler Shuck, so maybe I'm overcompensating for that mistake in some ways, but I'm like, we're wrong about quarterback all the time. So in a draft class that isn't as strong and there's not as many guys that I'm excited to throw a dart on in the 2nd round, why not throw a 2nd round dart on a guy in Carson Beck who, if we are wrong about him and he does win that job and he does perform, right? I mean, we didn't think that Jackson Dart was QB1 over Cam Ward last year, but now Jackson Dart's like a 2nd round startup pick. We didn't think that Tyler Shuck was going to be any good, even if he did beat out Spencer Rattler for a job. We didn't think that he was going to have any long-term dynasty value, but now he's like a 3rd or 4th round startup pick. So if these quarterbacks hit, they hit big. And I'm willing to take that swing on a guy in Carson Beck. I've got him at 18th right now in my personal rankings. In our consensus rankings, he's 17th, and the pre-draft on that was 39th. So this is a guy who moved up over 20 spots from our pre-draft to our post-draft, which we just don't do that very often. It's just the nature of kind of how the draft tanked some of these guys that we really liked, which is unfortunate. But Yeah, so the quarterbacks this year are rising more than in other years, and probably more than in other years. You'll see if you're looking at our rookie guide and you're looking at our recliner rankings, and you're like, wait, why is that guy who has a 63 at the recliner ranking? Why is he at 18th? And then the guy that's, at 20th has a 75 recliner rating. Like, it's because of this kind of stuff. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. Like, recliner rating, it is our pre-draft film analysis. We lock that in, we don't change it. Um, but it's not like our rankings aren't going to directly mirror our recliner rating. It doesn't factor in draft capital, it doesn't factor in landing spot, it doesn't factor in age or production profile or injury history or any of that kind of stuff. So all that to say, Carson Beck is a stock up for me. And with all that being said, we're going to talk stock down in just a minute. But before we do, we want to take a quick break to let you guys know about the awesome resources we have at CouchScouts.com, including.
Before you do that though, let's get to Rupert's stock up guy before we go
Oh,
for an ad
Rupert.
break.
Rupert was just reacting to Ty Simpson. He didn't even give his own. Thank you for good catch, Jackson. Thank you for that. I was like, man, we're halfway through the podcast. It's at 10 minutes. It's because Rupert hasn't talked yet. I apologize, sir. Go ahead. Tell us your stock up here.
I'll forgive you. I just want to double tap on Carson Beck as well, just to give like some real life examples, like what we saw last year. There's so many quarterback injuries, and what did me and you have to do in the league that we co-owned? Like we had double quarterback injuries in the playoffs, so we had to pay up for guys like Jacoby Brissett and Malik Willis. Guys that didn't hold really hardly any value a couple weeks before that, but because of injuries, now they're starting, and then a contender needed them. So if you can get someone like Carson Beck, and then maybe he's starting later in the year because they're like, hey, let's see what we have in him. Like, even if he doesn't win the job outright, I could see him starting at the end of the year. So if a contender has an injury, something like that, like you can flip them for maybe a late second or, something like that, 2/3. So I do like that strategy of just taking these guys that have the potential to play, because you can flip them much easier than you can other positions. Going to my stock up, I went with Chris Bell, wide receiver from Louisville. Went to the Dolphins after they drafted Caleb Douglas, and we talked about it earlier, but I have Chris Bell an easy 10 points higher on my recliner rating. He went later because of, I think it was either December or January ACL. So he might not play this year. Even if he does, it might be limited. I just really like the talent, like such a physical freak, like huge, almost 230 pounds, runs really well, has a great release. Okay, route running, could use some refinement there, but he has a lot of tools that you can work with, especially in that kind of offense. So he's a guy that I feel like I'm going to come away with a lot of shares in the second round. He moved up from, I think, 18. Did he come up? He went from 18 to 13. So 18 pre-draft down to 13 post-draft. So early second round is where I'm comfortable taking him.
Yeah, it's interesting with Chris Bell, right? Because if you're not looking at the injury, like you're talking about a guy that many scouts believe could have gone in the first round of this year's draft. Now you got the injury questions. That's certainly something to talk about. But he lands on a team with the Dolphins where he's very easily the best wide receiver, I think, on that roster. I know he got drafted a little later, but I think he's immediately better than all the other guys they have on the roster. And I think targets are not going to be a problem for him. He's going to earn targets at a high rate. I mean, could he step in there and earn a, injury excluding thing? If he recovers well, could he earn a 20-25% target share year one? Like, you're talking about a guy that you could get incredible value on, and certainly is a stock up guy.
Yeah, and he's incredible after the catch. He's big and he uses his physicality well. He's a bully out there. Not the most like contested catch, Moss U kind of a player, but he uses his physicality to create separation well within his routes and hand fights really well, has a decent catch radius, reliable hands, and then just that acceleration at his size is absurd. you watch some of the highlights, and I know we don't scout highlights, we watch all of the snaps so we can see all the strengths and the weaknesses. But just turn on the highlight tape and it's like, holy cow. Like he makes some impressive plays, and you could just see, and I'm not saying he is this player, but on the highlights, you can at least see why some people make AJ Brown comps for him. They're built similarly. They both move really, really well at that size. So I think he has a lot of refining to do, particularly to his route running, and is a little bit stiff-hipped as a route runner to get to the level of a guy like an AJ Brown. But yeah, the job is wide open for him. So I love that call out. He rose in my rankings as well. And that's a more fun one. I would be more excited to take Chris Bell than I would be to take Ty Simpson or Carson Beck. So I like that call out a lot, Rupert. And now we will share with you guys the great resources that we have available at CouchScouts.com. For tonight and tomorrow only, we're still running the promo code draft for 30% off tomorrow at midnight. So we're recording this on Tuesday night. So Wednesday at midnight, that code will expire. So if you want to get 30% off your first year with us, I would encourage you to get in on that now while you still can. And this is the best time of year to join. If you just want to get on the scout potato level, and get the all 22 film room, the rookie guide, the bonus podcast, the dynasty rankings, I think all that's great value for what, if you divide out, would be at full price would be $5 a month, but you add in the 30% off, you're getting that for $42 for a whole year. So great value there. And then if you upgrade and get the armchair GM, that is going to come with a consultation one-on-one with one of us, where we'll go over a personalized strategy for a dynasty roster of your choosing. And we have gotten great feedback from our people that have taken advantage of that. I know this is the time of the year that people are scheduling those a lot because they're trying to get prepared for their rookie draft, and they want us to help them make a strategy for their rookie draft. So I think that's well worth the price upgrade too, if you want to go that route, especially with the discount. So check out those options, couchscouts.com, use promo code draft while it's still live. But like I said, we're getting all kinds of questions in the Discord, and this is the time of year that Couch Scouts is giving you the most value. We try to have value packed in year round, but this is like peak value for the Couch Scouts membership. So don't miss out. Definitely get in on that. With all that being said, we're going to get into our stock downs here. And since I almost skipped Rupert the first time, I'll let him go first this time around. Rupert, who is your stock down?
I went with Elijah Surratt because we had him at 11 pre-draft and now 18 post-draft. It's just a guy that, we were a fan of from week one. He was the second guy that we scouted, and it's just a baller. Doesn't have the elite athleticism, doesn't separate extremely well, but it just knows how to play the position. I just think his game is just going to translate. He just has a lot of nuance, and he's produced every single year that he's played in college. I just wrapped up my first rookie draft, and I got him at the 3.5. So it seems like other people are more down on him than we are. Like Jacoby Lane also went to Baltimore. So I think people are viewing him as maybe the guy since they drafted him first. I think Surratt's a better wide receiver. So I think he's going to be the guy that you're going to want.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's a good point, that just because somebody's a stock down for us doesn't mean that they're a sell. Just like somebody being a stock up doesn't mean that they're a buy. Yeah, it's interesting because we dropped him from 11th, which most people never had him at 11th to begin with, right? So we dropped him down to where most people probably had him pre-draft. And the people that already had him at 18th pre-draft, they were mid-second on him pre-draft. Now they're mid-third on him. So I think we're still going to come away with a lot of shares because we believe in the player. And I'll say this too, like, I know that the Baltimore landing spot is gross, and I know that 4th round draft capital is gross. That's why he dropped from 11 to 18, but there's still a path there. Like, you've got Flowers clearly established. You've got Mark Andrews very much on the decline of his career. Isaiah Likely's out of town. And so, like, the second leading target earner in that offense to me is pretty wide open. Like, I think right now you would think that Mark Andrews is probably still that guy for at least another year. Um, but but Rashad Bateman's not there anymore. So there's an opening at wide receiver too. And I know it's not like the highest volume passing offense in the world, but yeah, if Surratt comes in and he wins that job over Jacoby Lane, which we think he should, now he's the wide receiver 2 on the team, and we'll see where that takes him. But at least there's a path for a 4th round pick, and that's all you can really ask for. So, yeah, it's fair to call him a stock down. He is, but that doesn't mean that we're out on him. What about for you, Jackson?
Yeah, for me, this one kind of hurts a little bit, honestly. I chose Jamari Taylor. He was the running back from Virginia. We honestly, pre-draft, we were all pretty much in consensus in loving his film. A guy that has athleticism, had the physical tools, the contact balance, the break tackle, the physicality. He was a receiving option. I thought he could come in down, and I didn't think he would get super high draft capital. But I didn't think he would go undrafted either. But that's exactly what ended up happening, right? He goes undrafted, ends up getting signed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That backfield is busy, to say the least. You've got Bashal Tutin at 1, and then you got Chris Rodriguez, LaQuint Allen Jr. Does he even get a shot, Jamari Taylor? I don't know. I would argue that he's better than LaQuint Allen. I'd argue that he's better than Chris Rodriguez, but I don't see a clear path to being on the field right now, especially as a guy that was undrafted. Now we've seen the outliers, right? We've seen guys go undrafted and still make a splash in the NFL. I mean, we had one of those guys just last year in Washington, right? So, or was he a 7th? He might have been a 7th round pick, but we see guys go late. And
you're talking about Krosky Merritt?
Krosky Merritt, yeah.
Yeah, Bill was, I think, 7th round. But yeah,
same to that point, I mean, we can see it happen. It's just super unlikely. We dropped him in our rankings all the way down from 24 all the way down to 48. So your last pick in the 4th round of the rookie draft. I still think he's worthy of a late round flyer just because we liked the film so much. And I think talent-wise, he's better than a lot of backs they have on the roster right now. But as of right now, man, the path just does not look good for him. So it's easy faller for me.
Yeah, and honestly, like, you could probably let him go undrafted and pick him up off waivers after the draft if you wanted to go that route. Like, if you had the 48th pick, why not? But I don't think a lot of other people are even going to really consider this guy for all the reasons that you said, but they may not have been as in on him pre-draft as we were. He's an older prospect, if I remember correctly. He transferred up from a small school. He didn't have anything that we felt like was an elite trait on film, but he was good at a lot of things, like good vision, good patience, can catch passes, can break tackles, can make you miss, can pass protect. But yeah, the NFL just didn't see it that way for whatever reason. And it is a long shot. I mean, last year we had a guy out of Minnesota, Daniel Jackson, at wide receiver that we really liked to take.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace, because he went undrafted and he just never got a shot. And you need talent plus opportunity. I think he's got some talent, but it does not look like the opportunity is likely to be there for him at this point. It is disappointing. I'll give an honorable mention as well to another undrafted guy. Terrion Stewart was another. I didn't like him quite as much as I liked Jamari Taylor, but another little bit of a pre-draft crush. Just liked his tape, man. That guy breaks tackles like nobody's business. I had him at a 10 for tackle breaking. There were some other things that he didn't do as well. Jamari Taylor's a more well-rounded player, but Terrion Stewart was fun. But I mean, he measured in at like 5'5" at his pro day or something, and he played at Bowling Green. And then his production when he transferred up to Virginia Tech was not very good. So I'm not surprised that he went undrafted. But Terrion Stewart is another one that like I was interested in taking
he was a fun one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested in him as like a third or fourth round flyer, and then he goes undrafted. Like, I might pick him up on waivers after the draft, but yeah, you just have to be realistic. When a guy goes undrafted, he's a long shot to get on the field and get touches. So, um, all right, so that's gonna do it for y'all's stock down. I have one that y'all probably would have picked if I hadn't claimed him first, and that's Mike Washington Jr. I mean, a guy that for me was my RB2 pre-draft. I was torn because he was right there in the same tier with Jonah Coleman, Emmett Johnson, but it was between those three guys. And I thought, as a pure runner of the football, he was better than those other two guys. Now, Emmett Johnson and Jonah Coleman are both far superior third down backs than Washington. But I thought, man, Mike Washington can really run the football. His analytic profile, horrible. He crushed the combine. To me, I saw that combine athleticism show up on his tape. I thought he could make for a solid first two down running back in the NFL. But, not only does he fall to day 3, but then he goes to Las Vegas and he's playing with Ashton Genty. And I know that, like, historically, Kubiak likes to use a 2 running back system. I know that the NFL is trending more towards 2 running back systems. But come on, man. It's Ashton Genty. Like, have we forgotten how much we liked this guy last year? Have we forgotten how immensely talented he is? The talent gap between Ashton Genty and Mike Washington Jr. is like
Immense.
miles long. It's immense. Yeah. I think probably Mike Washington Jr. will have a role as like a give Genty a breather, take some pounding just so that he doesn't get like 300 carries in a season, just to like preserve his health a little bit. Similar to what you might have seen Algier do with Bijan in Atlanta. Like, every once in a while he'll be annoying and poach a touchdown, but Algier didn't really have any standalone value. He was really only valuable or could only be started in your fantasy lineup if Bijan went down. And I think you'll see a similar deal here with Mike Washington Jr. Like, he'll have some weeks where he vultures a touchdown, and if you had him in your flex, you get 10 or 12 points from him maybe, but it's not going to be predictable at all. And I think mostly he's not going to have standalone value unless Genty gets hurt, which that's a bummer from a guy that we had, as a late first, I would say probably more early second. So our consensus ranking of Washington Jr. was 13th. So like right outside the first round of a typical dynasty league. And now he's at 24th. So he went from early second round all the way to the very back of the second round for us in our rankings. And again, it's like the talent's there, but it's got to be talent plus opportunity. So there were so many guys in a similar range for us. We said this before the draft, like from 9 to like 18 was this huge muddy range. They were like, yeah, the draft is going to move some guys up and down here.
And it did.
It sure did. Definitely more than most years. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys, just hearing us talk out some of our biggest risers and fallers from all 3 days or even undrafted of the NFL draft. Tonight on the bonus show, just for our members, we're going to be talking about our My Guys and our fades. So we're going to be planting some flags on that show, which should be a lot of fun. If you haven't already joined our free community Discord, the link will be in the show notes. You can ask those on the clock questions. And even if you're not a member, we'll do our best to see those and answer those and give advice. People post their trades in there all the time. So if you want to get input from us, if you want to just meet a great community of 300 plus dynasty players, definitely jump in the Discord and leave us a rating review on whatever podcast app you're using. We definitely appreciate the support. Y'all have a blessed week.